Welcome to Ignite the Spark Within, a podcast designed to do just that. Ignite your spark within you. I'm your host, Sarah Malone, owner of Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching and voted Yahoo Finance's top 10 female coaches to follow in 2021. I believe everyone has a fire inside them, a powerful purpose, a story waiting to be told, and everyone can uncover and unleash this power. Every day you have the choice to either let your experiences shape you or take control and use your experiences to shape the world around you. You were made to experience happiness, freedom, joy, purpose, love, passion, and abundance. Disrupt the status quo, think for yourself, and join forces with those around you doing the same. Join me for thought-provoking conversations along with the strategies needed in order to help you ignite your spark within. Let's chop it up later. But yeah, I'm in the RV. I'm like literally looking at mountains right now. It's windy as heck up here, so I'm hoping that we don't get choppy, but it's quite the experience.
It's the best. It's
yeah.
You said something in your post. It's free.
It's so freeing, Austin, because, and I'm sorry about my dog barking. It's so freeing because you don't even allow yourself the space to acquire unnecessary baggage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that happens like on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a mental level. And it's like eliminating that option for yourself. I really feel like we're all supposed to live like this level of simplicity, because I don't think about the obligation of having to maintain so much stuff.
Yeah.
I'm so freed up to think about bigger things and to actually like be with, my language, be with the divine and be with the creator and be with my own creation. So yeah, it's freedom is the best word I can think of.
So let me paint a picture for you. So I had just separated from my, so we separated for like 30, 40 days. We were like, we're not going to talk for 40 days. My ex-wife, we're going to see, just take some space. That was like the thing, right? She went home, she packed her stuff. She went to our home. That was an Airbnb. So she moved back in there. I was in our apartment at the time. And I was in my room. I was in the room. And she wrote on the whiteboard, she wrote, "Remember that no matter what happens, I always love you." And I didn't like that statement because it felt manipulative in the moment. That wasn't what we agreed upon. It was agreed upon in space, right? So I said, I said, I don't want to be here. I said, I'm going to go. So I pack up my stuff and I go in my car and I go up to Austin, and I'm just not in a great headspace. Like I shouldn't have been around anybody, but I went and hung out with my friend and his wife. And she was like, I really don't, his energy right now is like, I really don't want to be around him. And so I said, you know what? You're right. You're 100% right. So I went to drive back to San Antonio. So if anybody doesn't know, Austin is 70 miles north of San Antonio. Well, instead I drove to Arizona. I just like literally got in the car and drove through the night, and I got a flat, and like I was like 2 hours outside of Tempe, and I was on the side of the road waiting for AAA, and I was dancing. I didn't even give a fuck about the thing because I was just in my shit. I had my cowboy hat on. I didn't even know I had one. And I was just out there dancing. I shot videos of myself. It was so funny because I just didn't care. And so I go in to Tempe, I go meet my friends, and then I drive. So I'm headed to LA, to Malibu, to go hang out with my buddy, who's a shaman and all this stuff like this. And I remember like it was yesterday. I rented a place that I found, like an Airstream in Joshua Tree, outside of Joshua Tree, for like 2-3 days. I just needed some days to myself to kind of have my own space, right? And I swear to God, I remember this like it was yesterday. It was 3:45 in the afternoon. I drove from Tempe, and I was in Joshua Tree driving down this road. There wasn't much on the road. I was listening to music. The windows were down. I just got off the phone with my friend, and I looked at my phone, and nobody had texted me. Nobody had called me. She hadn't texted me. She hadn't called me. And I was in my car. That's all I had was my car and my clothes. And I thought to myself, this is the first time in 13 fucking years that nobody needed something from me. There was no expectations. I didn't even have a job. I got laid off 2 weeks prior. So I didn't even have a job. Like the podcast had just launched. And I was like, oh, like this, like you're because what people don't understand is you're so many things to so many fucking people. And you don't even know that you're those things to those people.
Oh, okay. Let's go there because so here, this is so interesting, right? And it's like, this is why the energetic space of who we're around is so important, because without realizing it, people have positioned you. They've already placed like your role in their life, right? Like you're supposed to be this person for me. And now I'm energetically creating those expectations on you. I'm putting that on you. And if you don't live up to those, well, then, you know, we're going to have conflict and I'm not going to be what you want me to be for the relationship or the dynamic or whatever happens, or even a breakdown. But then there's a part two to this. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so good. There's the part two of like, we have that calling still, right? Like you and I, we serve, we're servants. That's what we are. Leaders serve, leaders are servants. And so we have this calling to serve people. And so now we've put ourselves in that role of people needing us too. And we don't even realize it until something happens. And I have to tell you, I resonate with your story so much because I just got back from Montana too. And while I was there, Austin, I was like, I just want to be invisible. Like for just this moment, for just however long this period of time is that I'm out here, I just kind of want to be invisible. I want to go where nobody knows me. I want to just put my head down and be very unspecial. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to have to be that. For just a moment. I just wanted to check out. And through a weird array of circumstances, I was at this school for my hypnotherapy, actually. And I was there as a participant. I was not supposed to be leading. And something happens where all of a sudden I find myself leading again. And I was like, oh my God, you know what? This is a moment of realization that you have two options, Sarah. You can say no and like constantly seek to be something else, or you can just accept that this is always who you have been and it is always who you will be. And then it's up to you to not allow that to be like, there's no tank, right? There's no like, I'm full, I'm empty. It's like, that's just you being you.
Yeah.
No, but I couldn't have that without being like, nobody talk to me, everybody leave me alone. Like I need to eliminate all of that.
It's not you know, I don't really follow sports anymore, but I follow golf. I like golf. Like me and the business owners golf, my employees golf, we golf together. Like it's a fun thing. This guy that just won the biggest golf tournament of the year, they asked him, have you had any moment to take a minute from this huge win, the biggest win of the year? Like and he goes, no, I haven't, because I committed to playing here. And they go, well, how long are you going to take? And he goes, well, I might take 24 hours. And they go, well, aren't you going to not play golf for like a month or so? And he goes, why? I love what I do.
Oh, I love that.
And it's
oh my God, but so those
when I'm on vacation in Costa Rica, people are like, you should relax. You're looking at real estate. And I'm like, I am relaxed. I'm doing what I love.
I love the way you said that. I am relaxed. Yeah. I'm doing what I love. Exactly. And it's like, you know, sometimes you wonder at times, like, is the burnout, you know, the burnout happens because we put the obligation on our service and like on our mission and our calling. And you just said something that made me think of, you know, but those transitions are so important. Those transitions are so important because Even I realized this after the last retreat. After the last retreat, it was like, Austin, it was so transformational. So much had happened. So much change was witnessed. And to be a vessel for that, you know, it's like you're way up here. It's like such this high. And then everybody leaves. And then I'm like reflecting, I'm like, oh gosh, that was, you know, that was so amazing. And then a freight train hit me. And I was like in this weird state of depression once everyone left. Like, first of all, I thought to myself, how do you properly celebrate this? Is there a proper way to celebrate it? Like, I feel like I should be sharing it with somebody. I should be, you know, there should be a bigger thing in the aftermath of something like that. And there's not. It's just you, and it's just that internal feeling. And it feels like it should be more. But those transitions, man, are so important because they set the pace for like your momentum.
Yeah. I call it anchoring the moment.
Say it again.
Anchoring the moment.
Okay. Go into
it. I just got off with a new client, brand new client, right? He just sold one of his businesses because him and the partner had different visions of the future. They were very successful, but he felt like he was holding him back. Well, he's in a new phase, brand new business, all the stuff, right? And I said, well, he's selling the last part of the portfolio. He gets the last bit of money in 5 weeks. And I said, right now he's working 7 days a week. And I said, let me take a guess. I was like, you're not creative right now. I was like, because the chip on your shoulder, you're doing. I said, that weekend that you sell, you have to go somewhere with your wife for 48 hours because she's just as much as this as you are. And you need to have gratitude for what you created, but you also need to reflect on the new version of yourself. And you have to have that split of time or you will burn out in that new thing because you didn't separate it.
Yes. It's turning the page. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's so important too. It's like, I was just doing that actually before our podcast. I'm really prioritizing on transitions right now, because if you just blend one activity into the other, it becomes so lackluster. Each thing becomes so diluted because you haven't turned them. Okay, now I'm doing this thing. Like I'm literally bringing my full present being, my full presence to this thing right here, right now. And I've created the space. And that's why I think, and I haven't always done that, right? In the moments that I reflect on, where I look back and I say, oh my God, that was like really hard to go from like such a high to then like back into your daily work, right? I just tried to go right back into daily work, and you can't do that because now you're too close together. You're like comparing these two things and one has blended into the other, and it just doesn't make sense. But that's where I feel like awareness, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you are so good at what you do. And to me, when I see you, you're also such a beautiful connector of people. Mm-hmm. And in a way of not like, you know, I'm just not like Mark England, right? Who's connecting just like everybody. You're you're a connector in a way of your team feels connected to me, right? Like the people that you have in your circle and in your crew are very connected. And so that's where I feel like awareness comes in so important, because you not only have to be aware of yourself in those daily transitions and lifestyle transitions. You just made a big move too, but the needed and necessary transitions of your team. So how do you do that with them?
Well, I think the thing that changed my life was, I would say last year, and I don't get sick ever. And I got sick for like about a month. I was like fighting something. I had some clients that were screwing me over. So it was like a little bit of double barrel. It was a whole thing. And I was not my normal self, my normal fiery self. And I realized that all my business partners were grumpy and angry and on edge. And then it hit me. You are the tip of the spear. Your health, your energy, your excitement stirs the pot. So the only thing that matters in this world right now for you and your business to be successful is for you to be the top physical health, conserve your energy, because I might actually only do 2 to 3%, but that 3% is 100% for the overall health of the company.
Yes. Yep. It's a selfish selflessness is how I like to call it.
Mm-hmm. But also, but also understanding everybody, like you, my employees, there's a meaning behind the meaning of everything. Meaning there's a reason why they're very excited about the business, but there's a reason and their story of why this matters to them. And it's not a broad statement. It's figuring out what each of them want. And then the greatest quote I ever heard is, in order to build something truly big, you have to create a vision big enough for other people to see themselves in it.
Yes. That's beautiful. Who said that? Do you know?
I don't know, but I love it. And it's the truth.
Yeah, I love
because
it.
I realized in my 20s, I was building a vision for myself.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Now I'm building something that's going to transcend time. We're not even calling it a business anymore. We're calling it a motherfucking movement. It's a movement.
Yes. Yeah. For you, it's a movement. For me, it's a mission. I have to be honest with you. I'm going to cat's out the bag, Austin. I dislike being a business owner. Like, I don't like being a business owner. I'm like, ugh, the whole thing just feels icky to me, right? Yeah. And I'm involved with so many other business owners and they all feel icky to me. And I'm like, I don't want to collaborate with you because you run a business and I'm running a mission. And we just, that doesn't align.
Well, so if I was running a business, how have I hired? I went from 18 employees, January 18th to April 17th. I'm at 40. How did I do that? Wow, with no ads, no nothing? We'll probably add another 20 in the next 3 months. I've bought a business. We're looking at buying 3 more, and then we're spinning up another one. Like in a small town. I'm not in a big town, boys and girls. I've got 9,000, 8,000, and 7,000 around me. That's it. Well, what happened is they've never seen energy like this, and the vision is clear and it's set, and we know what we're doing, and we care about, most importantly, their lives. Like I just got off a call with my owners. You know what we're going to do? And don't get me wrong, we're crazy and it's going to do it. We're going to build an entire development for our employees. So where they can live at their houses. So like, hey, you don't have to worry about having a safe place to live or to raise your family. We're going to give that to you. We're going to figure out a way to finance it back to you. And now you're going to have something safe. And now you can go to work. And that ties into the whole mission. We're going to create community center, the whole 9. And we could wait. But like, I'm hearing it week in and week out of my employees staying in things that aren't acceptable for living conditions, and that stress, and that it's not okay, right? And one of the greatest things my employees said about me, and this is a new employee, and I love this. This is my favorite thing that they've said. 2 of them have said this. He's done everything he said he would do.
Oh.
Consistency of message, consistency of personality, consistency of message, knowing what you're saying, because understanding that you're dealing with a bunch of people who spent their whole life getting broken promises to them. And they're just looking for somebody to stand up and stand behind what's coming out of their mouth.
And prove that lie wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oof. God. You just made me like my whole body. I felt that just like straight through. You're like, prove that lie wrong. Woo.
Yeah. Woo. That's all people that, you know what? And okay. I think that was deeper than I thought when I said it out of my mouth. But now I'm thinking, I really think like, so, there's only one way to truly be a leader in that way, in a mission oriented, and that's to truly care about people. So you and I do something completely different, but we have one thing in common, and that's our care and our love for people, humans, you know? Mm-hmm. And I really truly think, you know, I'm a therapist, I'm a coach, I'm a healer, I'm a whatever. I'm just me. But at the end of the day, I really think dealing with all of these different people in different walks of life and different modalities, that's really what people are looking for. They're looking for someone to prove those lies wrong to them so that they can believe in something greater again, because they did at one time. And they're also looking for people to prove the lie that they believe about themselves wrong in order to see who they really are.
You just took the words right out of my mouth, because by you showing them that it's possible for somebody to stick with something, then they can look in the mirror and go, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah. And it's like, as far as, this thought came up when you were saying that about the team, you know, because in some ways I feel like on accident, I've stumbled upon that part where people see themselves in that vision, right? And all of a sudden people are like, can I work for you? I'll be a volunteer. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I could definitely use the help. And they're like, I could do this. And it's like, do you think, here's an interesting question. There's really no right or wrong answer. It's just perspective. I'm just curious to hear your perspective. Do you think greatness is stumbled upon or is achieved by strategy?
I think greatness is something you find when you seek to become the best version of yourself.
And how have you done that?
By knowing that I'm always wrong. you know what's interesting? I just had my 500th episode.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you. And been on a lot, so it's like 750. All around. I've interviewed baseball players. I've interviewed billionaires. I've interviewed people that own multiple companies, millions of dollars of real estate. And you know what? One quality they have that they all have in common: they are forever curious. And they always have a notepad with them. Oof. So if you're talking to them about something that they don't know, they sit there and they're like, yeah, tell me about it. They never think they know everything. And they show up curious. Student of the game, always.
The constant student mindset, student of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I find so funny is I find humans to be like in a Rubik's Cube. Like, perfect example. I love where I'm at in my life. I love how much work I've done. I love how much psychedelics I've taken that can make you realize this whole thing is that I have an employer. I did that.
That kind of expedites the process.
Yeah, I have an employee right now that I'll speak as clearly as I can. He's being an asshole. It's simple as that. He's being a dick. He's testing his boundaries and he's seeing if he can push me. I know exactly what he's doing. He's probably going to get fired. I don't really care. But what I find so fascinating is I've given this man everything he asked for, every fucking thing he asked for, and he's still unhappy. And he's acting like a child. He's a grown man. But what I find so crazy to me, and this is why I'm in a good place, he might not see it now, and he might never see it now, but I can only control what I say. I can't control when you hear it.
Oh, repeat that, please, for the ones in the back.
I can only control what I say. I can't control when you hear it.
Oh, that's so good. So good.
So I'm going to tell you a story that crystallized. I'm going to tell you a story with crystallized, and then because this fucked me up more than life itself. I have a podcast producer who's an amazing.
And here's what's funny is for all y'all who are not watching this, just know I literally have my notepad right here and I'm writing it down.
Note it up, dude. So this is a true story. So I have a client, and all the coaches out there will love this story more than life itself. So I have a client, this is 2 years ago. I have a client who was my biggest client ever. And when I say biggest, I'm talking by some zeros. Okay. Let's just say I jumped into the big leagues, right? So it's a big deal.
Awesome.
Something. Yeah.
That's what you get when you're living in an RV.
Hey, it's all the truth. So I have a client. So this, I'm gonna walk through this whole story because it's true.
Yes.
So I'm gonna share the first part first. This is for any coaches out there. So I am losing my mind. We come up with this thing where we're gonna build his brand out, the website, the whole thing. Like I'm saying, when I say it's a lot, like it's way more than I've ever done by like 20x. All right. So for 2 days, I couldn't send the email. Like I couldn't do it. Like mentally, I was imposter syndrome, the whole nine. And so finally, so like I'm talking to you now, and the email is sitting underneath my screen the whole day. Like I'm like having meetings. I could see the number, and it's just eating me alive. And so I got off a meeting and I turned on like Metallica, and I was just blaring it in my office. And I was like, send it, send it, send it. And so I finally sent it. 5 minutes later, I got back an email and said, where do I send the money? So here I am just freaking out, all this stuff. So that's the first part of the story. So we go in and we coach and we knock this stuff out. I mean, we build a new brand, a website. We just knock his list out left and right. Big New Yorker, big developer, like big cat, $60 million projects. This dude don't mess around, right? So we get down and we do his whole list like quicker than he thought. Like we knocked it out. Like it was supposed to be 6 months. We did it in like 3. Okay. So we're done. So I go to New York. I spend the whole week with them. We do a bunch of stuff. I go to the airport and I get this long email about all this dumb shit that we're not doing what we said we were going to do. And he's being a dick. Like it's all this stuff out of nowhere. It's the weirdest email ever. Right. And so I call him and I'm like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. This goes on for like a month. And then he stops showing up to coaching calls. Okay. So we like 3 weeks in of him not showing up, I just canceled. So he owed me money. He still owed me like 20,000, right? The work had already been done. He still owed me that money. So this happens 3 times. On the 4th time, I just cancel the invoice and I tell his assistant, hey, we're done coaching. And so then he tells her, like, why are we done coaching? Like, I don't know. She's like, well, you haven't showed up to a coaching call in a month. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I am livid. So he still owes me money. I had to pay people out. Like, I don't think I made that much money through this whole thing. It doesn't matter, right? I'm fuming. Like, this is just driving me crazy for like months. And I finally let it go. And my podcast producer messages me. He's in Spain. So he does his podcast too. Okay, that guy's podcast. And he said, look.
Oh, okay.
So he sends me a message and he goes, when I met you, young man, he said, you told me that your why in this world was to impact everybody in every moment in every way. That's your why. That's what you live by. That's what you told me. Okay. So if that's the case, then you need to listen to this video with open ears and don't say anything. Just listen to it. I said, okay, whatever. So he sends me this video of this guy on his podcast going, so there was this young kid. This is exactly what he says. He doesn't say my name. He goes, there's this young kid who crossed me up, who made me think about shit that I've never thought about in my life, who literally changed my whole world. And maybe I did him wrong or, and like goes into this whole thing about how I affected him and all this stuff. And like what I said to him really like set in, right? And then Mark, my podcast producer, sends me a message and he goes, so it might not have been the outcome that you wanted, but your impact was there. So if that's the case, then you should be proud of what you did.
Wow. Well, I think the outcome was what you wanted.
Mm-hmm. But the ego though says
thinks it should look a certain way, right?
Correct.
The ego also wanted something out of it. It's like the spirit's like, well, what do you mean? Like you got exactly what you wanted. You made an impact. And the ego is like, no, but I also wanted something out of it too. And I wanted it to look this way.
Well, you know what's crazy? You ready? You ready for this? When I finally let them go, when I let that money go, I signed 3 clients that week.
Come on. That's what happens. Yeah. But oh my gosh, there's so much here, Austin. It's like, because this is what happens, right? And especially when you're coaching people. I used to take it so personal when people would ice me, or I'm just like, they would just straight up, something would just flip or a switch would turn in them. And I was like, I don't understand. Like everything was going so well. And sometimes we don't realize that level of impact, oh my gosh, that level of impact is unsettling.
Do you know who Alex Ramosi is? He said something to me. He said, the longer that you've created a savage, they will think they could have done it themselves. So you better ask for the review of your coaching in the first 2 weeks.
Yep. And you know what? Yep. You got it. Yep. And so I do that, by the way, but also, at the same time, you think like that's a good leader, right? A good leader leads without people even realizing, like, I don't even know why I'm so excited about the mission. I just know I'm excited. And they don't realize that there's so much that you're doing behind the scenes, just the little stuff too. It's how you phrase things. It's how you walk. It's how you prepare yourself in the morning and in the evening in your own mind space. And it's they don't even.
Stepping to step, okay, is what I call it. So you are very self-aware and you know exactly what you're doing. And I would imagine if I saw you, like if I went to your retreat, I'm sure I would get something out of it, but I would spend 90% of my time watching you lead the retreat because that's what excites me the most, right? That's when I go see Mark speak. I'm watching Mark. I don't listen to the words. I'm watching how he controls the room, right? But people don't understand is a lot of times I step somewhere to get a result 3 weeks from now. And what I mean by that
you got it.
is I put my hand here and I may make myself look funny or something to my employee, but it's to set them up to get them to learn something. And then 3 weeks later, I'll talk about why I did it.
Or 3 weeks later, this is my favorite. When my people, either my team members or my clients, send me a random message like, oh my God, everything you've been telling me for the past 6 months is all making sense right now. Like, holy shit, I can't even, and they're like, they can't even handle it. And I'm just over there like,
well, what's crazy. And I don't know if you have this, but I have this. I have to let something ruminate for a little bit. Like, because you
just said it a second ago. This is what it is with all of us, right? It's like, I can only control that I say it. It's not up to me to say it at the right time. Sometimes it's just a seed at first, and then it becomes watered over time. Or sometimes like years later, a lesson might seek in, and the understanding of some certain person, some certain lesson will come in. It's about where we are at in the fertilization of those seeds. Sometimes. And here's the thing, knowledge is great, but wisdom is better, because wisdom is at the heart level. And my interpretation of knowledge is I can acquire facts. I can acquire the certification, right? Wisdom comes from the heart of experience and like an understanding of like this at a universal level. This is how this translates, or this is how this works, or this is this universal truth. I can know it, and I can recite it, but in order to be wise in that, I need to it needs to sink into here.
Yeah. So you like the energy stuff. So I'm going to tell you one of the aha moments for me. So what people don't know, because we didn't talk about my story, but I'm 3 years, 4 months, or 4 years, 3 months. I don't know. I'm sober. Okay. I lost a bunch of weight. I don't drink. I was a 20-year alcoholic, a meth addict, all that stuff. Right. So
wow.
what people,
Austin, I didn't even know that about you.
yeah.
We had not talked about that before.
I like the booger sugar. Yeah, I was a little crazy, you know. I like the good stuff. That's what we used to call it back in the day. And then
what is it? The booger sugar?
Booger sugar, yeah.
Oh my God, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's so great. So I haven't said that in 20 years, so that's so great.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been sober, right? And when your life's falling apart, right? When you wake up to the reality of what you created, a shitty marriage, you're in a job you can't stand, like all these fucking things, there takes a lot of anger to come out of that. It takes a lot of visceral fucking shit. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and run in 40-degree weather with my shirt off and yell the same Imagine Dragons songs for like 7 miles. Like just David Goggins weird shit, just like beating my chest, right? Like all that crazy stuff, right? Listening to Gary Vee over and over again, like all that stuff, right? Well, what happened is as I started getting success, I felt so off for like 60 days. I was like, man, I feel fucking weird because you're reaching down to go take that fuel, that toxic fuel that you created, that anger. Here's the problem. Where you're going as a leader takes a different type of fuel. You can't use the same fuel. And it has to be internal. You can't use outside motivation. It has to be deep. It has to be rooted in. And so I had the epiphany on a podcast talking to somebody going, oh, the fuel you're using is toxic. That's not going to work anymore. You have to go search for internal fuel. And what's crazy to me, because I've been in a lot of masterminds, I see tons of guys, especially in the gym space, who have a $3 to $4 to $6 million company, but their fuel is such crap. I'm going, that's never going to last. That's never going to last.
Austin, oh my gosh. It's like you're reading my mind, right? I'm like, I was just going to go there. I was like, how often do you look out at these influencers, right? And I just think to myself, ugh. You
can hear it in their words.
You can hear it in their message. Yeah. You can hear it. You can see it on their face. And you know what, to be honest, I was that too, though. You know, I got my divorce. I had, it was so chaotic and catalytic. And my fuel source was, that fight or flight. It was the push rather than the pull. Right. And somewhere along the way, I realized I'm getting tired. This is tiresome. And after some time, I even got tired of hearing myself. I was like, I'm tired of saying the same message about like fight and, like all this pushing stuff. And I'm like, I'm just tired of hearing myself. And I'm like, there's gotta be something different, something that doesn't really wear out. And I related that to the push versus the pull. A lot of people are in that fight or flight. They're in that, like, gotta make it happen, gotta do this, gotta grind, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted just hearing you say that instead of being pulled towards.
Well, you know what
because I've been there.
What my favorite trick with my clients, and it drives them insane because they think they hire me for like, oh, let's like chew on metal and goals. And I can,
and you're going to motivate me.
I could do all that. I call it the 48 hours of no decision. You're not allowed to make a big decision for 48 hours. And what happens is it creates space where they realize that thing's not even that important.
Or it makes them so edgy and anxious. Well, what do you mean I have to make a decision? I got to do something. What
do we say to ours? What do we say? What do we say? No, this is my favorite thing in the entire world ever. Because I only know because I'm going through it with my fiance. We get engaged, and within 2.5.7 seconds, when you get married, when you're having kids. Yeah. Like, that's all they're asking. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, can we not just be engaged? It's the same thing when you lose your job. Where are you going to work? Where are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Could I take a minute to process? Is that going to be okay for you? Like, Jesus.
Can I just be for a moment?
It's like talking about the weather. There's nothing I can't stand more. I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's hot in Texas and it's cold up north.
And none of that changes anything. Like, you're still going to do the same thing.
Dude, I said this today on a podcast. My fiance, God bless her, she's from Seattle. You know what's crazy? This sounds so nuts, but I said it 3 times and people go, oh, that was me. You know what I hated? I was in a bad mood when it rained. I associated sun with happiness and rain with not. She said this to me and it changed my entire life. I'm telling you this one phrase. Oh, the rain's beautiful too.
Okay, this is funny. I was just talking to my team member, my co-facilitator on the retreats. I said, it's so interesting, right? God thinks he's sending rain for nourishment, and we look at it like a curse. When we can see the rain as nourishment for the fertile plants around us too, that's when we appreciate all the seasons, all the elements, the rain, the snow, all of it. Because all of it's beautiful. It has a purpose.
Yeah, that's welcome to life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a definition of
that. But
because
I just
we've
find
created
it
a space
so
where we want to.
these...
No. Perfect example. Ridiculousness, but all the same. Fevers are body's reaction to stabilize your body, but yet we have one, and 2.5 seconds later, we want to put a pill in our mouth.
To get rid of the natural reaction. Well, and even I go to the emotional reason behind a fever, or the emotional reason behind any sickness, really, because there's always something. And our human mechanism, our tendency, we've been trained to get out of it and do more. Like we should be, and that production is doing, and sickness is bad. And it's all you just hit like 5 things, and I'm like, wait. Circle back.
I got another one. I got another one for you. You want to know how you fix a stomach that's like doesn't feel great or whatever? Don't eat. Holy crap.
Yeah, fasting.
The absence of food. Whoa, what a novel concept. Holy crap.
Think about that. Okay, I could take something real simple and make it super deep. I'm real good at doing that. Some people call me an overthinker. I just say I'm a deep thinker. Think about that in a nutshell. What you just said is don't eat, because what does eating do? Number 1, it takes up space. And number 2, it gives your body something else to maintain. Okay. When all you really need to do is create space and take away the things, like take away unnecessary shit that your body has to now tend to, and it's going to do what it does. It's going to heal.
Wow.
And that is the same thing with like all of life. You get some of the highest achievers I just see the sickness in their body. Because you know me, spiritual, energetic, I see inside. I can see your body. I can see that you're suffering. You're suffering, but you're so successful. You're suffering, but you have so much money and things. And why? You know what I mean? And that's what we say when we say like the push versus the pull. I needed to be pulled. If we lived in that state of like our fuel source was toxic, like you said, the anger, the whatever it is, it's so good to go through that, right? We have to allow ourselves to go through that. But if we stay there, we combust from within. It's like we become the fire that consumes ourselves until we're pulled by something greater, whatever that mission may be. I asked you this question previously, about you think a greatness is stumbled upon or strategically created. And it's like, I feel like that dance in the middle is how those spiritual gurus have created what they've created. There's like no strategy, but there's also it's not just random either, right? And that's why, like you say at the retreats, oh my gosh, let me tell you a story. Okay. At the retreat, when you just said you would spend 90% of your time watching, I was able to witness, I was able to be so present as to be facilitating and also witnessing one of the participants who was doing exactly that. It's like everywhere I went, she was just watching, and she's like, she's just in a almost like stupor, like a child, like, you know what I mean? And it was such a bizarre reciprocation of energy, because while she's doing that, it also gave me so much more purpose. Like, it gave me another layer of purpose where I'm like, this girl's going to probably be leading retreats one day. I know that's why she's here to learn. And she's also here to learn and grow, right? And so, yes, I'm here to do the healing stuff, but she's also watching how a leader in this space leads. And now that gives me another purpose. Student.
It's we call it in my business that you don't love too much. We call it, do you want to be a barrel of monkeys or a bucket of crabs? Okay. And a bucket of crabs is gnawing at you, pulling you down. A barrel of monkeys, at all times, I believe that you should be mentoring and be mentored by. Right. And so you're pulling. So, that's why I love this makeup I have of clients who you have, 40 and up, or I have like 27 and down. There's not a lot of middle ground. And the young guys want to chew on metal and they want to run through a brick wall. And the older guys are looking for freedom. But I love the complexity. And I love when I coach women too, of just like understanding because what I realized when this is the true story, and you of all people will understand this, and it's not planned. When I went on road trip by myself for 30 days, 35 days by myself when I got separated, do you know I did not see another man for 35 days? Randomness. I was hanging out with women, and then I met another woman, not women that I was with. I'm talking friends. And what I realized through my LSD trip was I was healing my mother wound and my ex-wife's wound.
You just know that makes me so happy.
I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is when I healed that wound, this is a true story. Then I was down in Costa Rica and I'm walking with my coach. And I had an epiphany. The reason I don't have a relationship with my father for 20 years is because he's me. And here's what's crazy. That was the epiphany. I said, wait, I think we're the same person. And I thought I hated him my whole life. You ready for this? I have not really spoke to my dad in 20 years. Guess what my dad does? By the way, he's a dentist, but guess what he does for his passion? He helps small businesses be the best version of themselves. Exactly what the fuck I do.
Well, Austin, looking in the mirror is very hard.
Yes. Agreed. Yes.
Very challenging. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, and now we talk almost every day.
Wow. Really?
He's even on our board of directors for all my businesses. Yes.
This makes me so happy.
And wait, you know what? My crazy. Dad is... And here's what's crazy. Sorry. One more thing. Because we've healed, our story of ours is healing other father and son relationships.
Of course it is. Of course it is. This is what people don't understand about how we're all so connected. What you just described, that's how we're all connected. Because that ripple effect happens. There's two things, right? It's so hard to look in the mirror. And then number two is the mother wound. So let me touch on the mother wounds first. This happens so much. I find that people get married. Okay. So here, I'm just going to go on my little tiny rant here. which may not be so tiny. Okay. People get married under the construct of, legal marriage and stuff. And they get married at a time when they are not conscious enough to have addressed their childhood mother and father wounds. They get married at this time and they end up marrying their mother wound or their father wound, right? And then we are told that divorce is bad and that we shouldn't be doing these, right? It's bad, and you shouldn't, you stick it out and you do it for the kids, right? You do it for the kids because that's what you do as a savior of everything. And yes, the American dream family. And except the American dream family becomes not so dream-like because you've married your mother or father wound. And now the children are seeing that, and they're going to do the same thing when they're older. Okay. So then you go through your experience, and it actually provided a space for you to address and heal your mother wounds because of the presence of your wife, your ex-wife, basically. And then that led you to understanding your father more, which was your mirror. And so this is why I say that we really shouldn't get married, and you probably agree with this, until we've had the opportunity. Maybe psychedelics could help in that process, to take some psychedelics or to address our childhood wounds, because then and only then we can marry a counterpart who actually advances us and doesn't just feel an egotistical or karmic role. Do you know what I mean?
Here's what's crazy. And this is so wild because you're so right. And this is what me and fiance talk about all the time when it comes to marriage. She loves me so much, it scares the shit out of me. I've never had somebody care about me that much. And it's so hard to be loved. It's so hard to be loved. I'm upset that she wants the best out of me, but I get angry because I'm used to doing what I want to. And she's like, no, you need to be healthy. You need to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm already sober. Like, blah, blah. And she's like, you sound like an idiot. But what's crazy, right? This is a true story. When I got divorced, I was like, man, I want a 42-year-old that's a lawyer who runs her business and thinks about me like one day a week. And that's when we fuck and all this shit. And so my friend goes, she goes, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my mouth. So you want to date yourself? She goes, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
She goes, you need a hippie. And so I met my fiance, and my friend, that same friend, she's like a little bit of a psychic. She saw the picture. She goes, that's it. 2 seconds. She saw the picture. That's your person. She goes, I've never seen your face look like that. And here's what's crazy though. And I've even said this to her. My fiance had a crazy childhood, and she's worked on herself a lot, like crazy childhood. She's done it 6 or 7 times, especially in the beginning of the relationship. She tried to push me away.
Yeah.
She tried to push me away because she didn't think she deserved it too. And she still does it every now and then. But what I realized, because I've worked on myself so much, and I'm a grown man, I'm a grown-ass man, and I'm confident in who I am, I realized that she never had a man that could take that could understand the place that she was actually coming from and not be personally offended by it.
She was looking for you to prove her lie wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, full circle.
And in a relationship, especially when one partner is doing something from a hurt place, that is all they're looking for. Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Because everyone else has showed up this way, and I so badly want you to show up this way. And that's why a real love like that, a real relationship, one that's divinely orchestrated in that way, and when both people have done enough work on themselves to be able to be conscious of that, that is why that partner will bring out the best in you and the absolute worst in you.
1,000%.
Because it is the scariest thing ever. And fear always brings out the worst in people.
You haven't lived until you've spent 9 months in a 20-foot RV and she's going 30 days, no marijuana when she smoked every day. Yeah, you haven't lived. Okay. You're trying to like, I thought she was going to murder me. Yeah. But but like, I'm comfortable enough to know that like, that's my person. Like, it's crazy. Like, but here's what's crazy. It's also insane to be with a guy who drops the hat, moves to Pennsylvania, doesn't know anybody, buying multiple companies, so like you have to love the craziness of the entrepreneurship relationship too. That's what she jokes about. It's like, oh, we have all the money. Oh, I'm going to be an Uber driver. Oh, I don't know where we're living. Like, welcome to the party. It's like, so it's not the normal, like, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's fun, but it's crazy. And I think the number one thing that she's taught me, and this is my message to everybody out there, and I guarantee you that this one statement of this whole podcast will relate more than it's related with anybody else, because this is my mindset for 40 plus fucking years. If we fight, we need to break up. If we fight, that means that we're going to break up. There can't be fight and still love within the fight.
Oh, are you saying like this was a misconception that you?
I'm telling you that this is the way I felt in every relationship. If we fight,
yes,
then we're not in love anymore, and we need to break up. And
yes, right. Conflict equals abandonment.
She taught me that I can love you and still want to spit down your throat because you're making me upset.
So she okay, this is huge. I mean, because this is it, right? I think a lot of us have that. Conflict equals abandonment. That was mine too. Mm-hmm. So she taught you what it feels like to have safety in conflict. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's my opinion. It's
the first time I met somebody that can put me in my place. Like she's a worse fighter than I am, and I'm pretty good. Like, but she scares the fucking shit out of me. Yeah.
But doesn't that make you feel so good?
Oh, it makes me feel the best.
People are like, because you know what? Because they're being real.
Yeah.
I love criticism when it's right.
What's so great, right? This was the greatest thing in the world. My coach thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Dude, I've done 700 podcasts. People want to hear me talk, all those things. Yeah, she ain't impressed. Okay. Yeah. Like, I love that. Like, it's like she's still my fan and she thinks it's amazing what I'm doing. But as my ex-wife would say, your personality really fills up the room. And so I'm learning to throttle it back and not feel the space and let her kind of be her own person too, right? Because like she was shyer when we first met, but she's met so many people now that she's like, oh, your friends are so kick-ass. Like, they're awesome. Like, I didn't know these people existed. She's like, you just attract the best people. But then I have to learn, it's still a daily process, is to not speak up for her and let her speak up for herself. So it's work. Relationships work. And you're working on yourself.
It's a constant dance. And it would never be boring then if you're always in that, if two people are always in that growth minded space, right? Mm-hmm. I love that because similarly, I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing events, I'm doing speaking. It's like blah, 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 blah. Right. I would so much desire. I'm single still. And, there's a reason for that. And it's like, I know being with someone who all they want to do is flagellate me and pump me full of compliments feels so icky and unappealing to me. It's like, you really don't want those accolades and those accomplishments to be the reason that your partner's impressed with you or interested in you. You want it to be something deeper. It's like your being on podcast doesn't impress you, but you holding space for your
Well, what's crazy is when we actually got together, because we were like friends a little bit before, she stopped listening to the podcast. And I gave her a hard time, right? But she's like, I heard that shit for 9 months in the RV. I'm good, you know.
In the RV.
But I love it, right? Because here's what's very powerful too, and this is not a lot of people would understand. She's been working. She's 30 now. She's been working since she was 17, supporting herself. She's never had freedom to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now she's having that time where she doesn't have to work, and she's taking care of herself, and she's fixing the stuff that's health wise, etc. And there's some freedom to be able to have the space. But then there's also a personal relationship that sometimes I don't clock to, that I am responsible for our entire financial future, which is very stressful for her as well too. So I think it's all rainbows and unicorns. Oh, just do whatever the fuck you want to do all day. And she's like, do you know how hard that is? Like, she's like, I've been working since I was 17. So I didn't put enough respect to the fact that it's just not, like, a driven person just doesn't want to hang out. And so she's gotten good at it. She does her things, but yeah, it's been a thing. It's probably the number one thing I didn't clock. It's like, oh, you just hang out and do whatever the fuck you want to go do.
It seems appealing, but put yourself in that position.
Oh,
you'd lose your shit. You would lose your shit. I know.
I'm already like, yeah. No.
It's like, I can't compute, like, short circuiting of the brain. Like, I would hate that. I could not. I know for a fact I couldn't do it. I'm not wired to do it for even a day, which is probably something to dive into.
She's going to start volunteering. She's going to start helping.
There you go.
And stuff like that. You know, you have to, right? And she's going to build her own business the way that she wants to, and all that stuff. So, you know, my message to everybody through this whole thing, through this lab that we went through, these different parallels, it's amazing. You know, what an amazing conversation. And you haven't been on my podcast. We need to fix that ASAP.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm going to fix that ASAP. But guys, I think the message, and you could share your thoughts, is that ultimately the road of life, the way I describe entrepreneurship is how I can describe life. Okay. This is what life is. It's walking down a hallway with all the lights off, and they took the door handles off the doors. And so you have to be able to take the next dark step in front of you long enough until the door handles appear. Or you can go backwards and you could stay where you are in the comfort and what you know. Or you can continue to walk down the hallway till the door and the door handles appear. At some point, you're going to have to jump.
Well, it's a good place to conclude.
Can I say something on your podcast? You are amazing. You are amazing. Seriously. The amount of space that you hold, you know when to touch in there with your stories. One of the best. I've been on like 800 podcasts. One of the best I've ever been on. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Wow. Thank you. The way that you pay homage and compliments is very endearing. You almost made me want to cry.
You know what they say about me? You know what they say about me? My friends say it the best. They go, I've never met somebody that can cuddle me and knock me the fuck out in the same sentence.
Oh my gosh. I feel that to my soul. People say that at the same time because that's what, oh my gosh. Can I just, before we wrap this up, and I just want to thank you so much for your time too. And that's really what truth is. If you think about it, it's like it tastes really bad. And then it goes down and you're like, that's kind of soothes me. Like it's just like, it's that double-edged sword. It's a 1-2 punch. It feels not so nice, but then it also feels really good. Yeah. We didn't get to talk about anything that I had on the list today. And I think that was perfect.
I'm glad you clicked record. We were running there. So yeah.
That's why I do that. Cause I'm like, maybe I'll think of some 5 bullet points just in case. But when things flow, they flow. And so you don't restrict that. Like I've just learned actually with things like this and whenever there's space being held is to go in without a plan. Just hold the space
100%.
And everything flows beautifully. This was no different. Austin, I could probably talk to you for a whole nother hour, but we got things to do, right?
Yeah, I got
I've got an RV to live in. So thank you so much. You guys, I'm gonna put in the show notes where to find Austin. He's gonna go jump on a coaching call. Austin, can you just please tell them where to find you super quick?
AustinLinney.com, LINNEY.com. If you like this episode, you can even text me 512-529-7515. My joke is I always give out my number and nobody actually takes action to text me. But if you do, I will jump on the phone with you.
I feel unspecial now.
No,
I had your number. I thought it was real special.
No, that's how I met my fiance. I did a motivational speech.
Give me your number up.
I did a motivational speech for my buddy's company she worked for. 35 people on the call. I gave her my number. Nobody texted me. She did.
What? That's an amazing story. That's phenomenal. Well, you guys heard it here first. Give out your number publicly and you'll find your soulmate.
It's better than Tinder. Yeah.
Austin, thank you so much. Go get on your coaching call. You'll have a lot of energy for it after this. And thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ignite the Spark Within. If this podcast brought you value or you think it would bring someone else value, please hit that share button. My mission is to reach and help as many people as I possibly can. And you just never know who could use that one good piece of information. And hey, if you have any topics, discussion questions, or ideas for future episodes, you can reach me directly at sarah@sparkflc.com and just write podcast in the subject line. And if you haven't already, please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast channel. This helps bring awareness to the show. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you're alerted for all future episodes. Please go ahead and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in pursuing coaching for yourself, you can visit sparkflc.com for more information.